Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome to Underground Cinema and our series of interviews with nominees for the 14th Underground Cinema Awards. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all very much for joining us on a Sunday morning. I hope you got all your clocks changed and you haven't slept it out this morning, because we're delighted to welcome to Underground Cinema this morning Katie McNeice. Good morning, Katie. How are you?
Hey, Dave. How's it going? I'm good.
Very good, Katie. We had a quick chat before we went online earlier on. So you're still a little bit jet lagged. You're just back from San Diego, where you had a fantastic win. You've picked up the Best International Film for Lambing, which has also been nominated for Best Film at Our Awards, and you've also been nominated for Best Director. You must be delighted with that one.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled. Yeah, it was a great trip, because I actually started off in Newport Beach Film Festival as well, and there was a lot of Irish people there. I think there was was it 31 or 32 Irish filmmakers in the hotel. So honestly, that was like being back in college. It was so much crack. And then I got the train down to San Diego after about 4 or 5 days and did that festival by myself. But it's like I was saying to you just before we started recording here, like, it was such a big festival. I just didn't expect it. Like, it never crossed my mind. Like, I went for the trip and the experience and the travel and all that, and the company at Newport too, and just to do a big event by myself. But like, I did not think we'd be coming home with 2 awards. Do you know what I mean? It was nuts, absolutely nuts. I don't think I've actually digested it. Maybe that's the jet lag. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, look, we're all delighted for you, Katie. It's fantastic. I mean, your career has just gone from strength to strength. I mean, I've been watching it, closely over the past couple of years. This one in particular is struck a chord with me. I mean, it got money from Kildare County Council. Lucina Russell looks after the Shortgrass Film Commission there, and I've worked with Lucina myself over the past couple of years. She's absolutely fantastic. You won the Best Short Screenplay at the Kerry Film Festival back in 2020, I think it was.
I think the script kind of on doing the rounds for a couple of years.
Yeah, you're an Irish Pride nominee, IMD Script Screen Award as well, and you've got a Rising Talent Award as well, which is fantastic. So maybe you can now. Not a lot of people have seen a film like this. I don't even think there is a film that touches on this subject matter whatsoever. I've been checking everywhere. Maybe you could just give everybody just maybe a brief synopsis on what the film is all about, Katie.
Yeah, and that's actually, before I do, I think that's a very good point. I think it is actually the first drama film that I've ever seen anyway on intersex. Excuse me, there are a couple of documentaries around, all right, but I think it is Ireland's first short drama on it. But intersex it's called a DSD, so it's a disorder of sexual development, and there's quite a broad spectrum for intersex. The particular version of it that Lambing focuses on is a baby that's born with both male and female genitalia. So it's an external, very obvious difference that we're dealing with. Like, in some cases, people can be intersex and not know. So you can have, men who get knocked off a motorbike, or they're in a car crash, or whatever it is, and they get an ultrasound when they're in the ER, and someone notices, oh my God, this man has ovaries or a womb or something he wasn't expecting. And likewise, similar things can happen with women. I've actually spoken to a woman who didn't know she was intersex until she was, I think, in her 20s or her 30s, and she got very, very sick and ended up with testicular cancer. So, I mean, it's a really shocking thing, only not because it should be, but because it's kept such a secret. Like, intersex is as common as redheads. There are statistics at the end of the film. It's between 0.5 and 1.7% of the population have some form of intersex trait. And so the reason I picked the most extreme version in Lambing is not for the shock value, but to show what actually happens to the parents of babies who are born like this. Because I certainly didn't know anything about it until the marriage referendum happened, and then people started to talk about queer issues kind of more openly, and someone gave me a book called Middlesex about someone who happens to be intersex as well. So yeah, that's the subject of it. It's a huge thing to try and fit into a short. But I think your reaction just there in terms of, not really seeing other content about it and maybe not initially knowing what it was until they've seen the film, like that's been really consistent the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't even aware of this subject, to be honest with you, Katie. And so when I saw the film and I just wanted to do a little bit of research on it, I just could not find anything else on it. To tackle to tackle a very strong and powerful script like this, you need a really, really good cast, and you really pulled it out of the bag here, Katie. Fia Kunz is an incredible gifted actor. He'd been nominated for a Best Actor award back in 2018. He did a fantastic short film called Scope. Pat Short has just plays an absolute blinder in this, and Joanna O'Brien, Kate Russell, Rebecca Hickey, the always dependable Jerry Cannon. You got a really, really strong cast there. Can you tell us a little bit about the casting process? I know you used some of these actors before in your other shorts. Can you tell us just maybe who you had in mind? You come from a rural background. I mean, you come from County Kerry. I've seen over the past couple of years a number of shorts that have been submitted to us that deal with rural Ireland, that are handled really well, about depression, alcoholism. There's a lot of taboo subjects, storylines in rural Ireland. I've recently moved to Longford. I'm a Dub, as you know. I've moved to, which is completely different kettle of fish to me altogether. I'm surrounded by rural people. It's very, very different. I love it. But maybe you could just tell us about the casting process for Katie.
Yeah, I think it's so. Bear in mind now, for context, I was casting this at the height of COVID. So one of the first people I actually attached was the little boy who plays David in the flashbacks. That's my little brother, Joe. So there's obviously a huge age gap between the two of us, but I knew that I wanted Joe first and foremost because I needed a kid that I could speak to regularly, and someone that I could tell him about all this upsetting things that's going on in the background in the story with John, who's the top generation of the family, who's played by Pat Short. So I actually started with Joe, who's like got this tiny little role in the film. And then because I knew I wanted to cast Joe, I had to find an older actor who looks like Joe. So that's actually how I got to Fiach. Like, I knew roughly physically what I was looking for. And I found there was a different actor attached initially. There was scheduling issues. And I'm so glad that happened, because I ended up going out again and going, okay, I need someone with kind of sandy hair, kind of ranging from blonde to brown kind of. I need someone with really beautiful, small, thin eyes and blue eyes, and someone who looks, quite masculine, but has the ability to kind of lean into that delicateness as well. And I actually, Mo O'Connell, who produced the film, saw Fiach's audition before me. And we were hitting an awful lot of blockers, like finding like lambs and this kind of stuff. And we had a meeting where the two of us were just not hitting a wall, you know what I mean? But we were really trying to solve lots of problems, I suppose. So I came off the meeting like just feeling just tired and got feck, like this is so hard. And Mo deliberately didn't tell me about Fiach's tape because she wanted it to be like a nice treat, like a nice bump at the end of the day. And I watched it and I thought, oh my God, look at him. I literally texted his name to Mo with like, I think 10 exclamation marks, like Fiach Kunz, oh my God. And she wrote back, yeah, knew it. Well, I sent him an email. Like, he was cast immediately, with Rebecca Hickey, who plays the midwife, Nurse Foley. Rebecca actually auditioned to play Mairead initially. And Kate Russell, who plays Mairead, auditioned to play the midwife. And Johanna O'Brien, who played Caoimhe, also auditioned to be Mairead. So the three of them all ended up shuffled around. It was funny, I was actually offering Johanna O'Brien the role of Mairead, and I was about to sign off the Zoom call that I was on. I was like, okay, thanks, I'll be in touch. She went, sorry, can I just say, I'd really like to be Caoimhe. And I thought, damn, no, because I've just found Mairead, like, this is feck's sake. I says, yeah, of course, do tape if you want, absolutely. And she's persistent, she's a very meticulous, persistent, and very driven actor. And then she did a tape for Caoimhe. And I thought, Jesus, she's not Mairead, she's Caoimhe, she's right. It's sometimes I think you have to admit when the actors are right. And And then with Kate Russell, like, because Johanna O'Brien has like kind of reddish auburn hair, which I did on purpose because lemmings is common, or like intersex is common as redheads. When Kate auditioned to be the midwife, and she'd similar colouring, and she's a very strong actor, but I just needed to know where to put her. I thought, you know what, this makes sense. I'll just shuffle them around slightly. And then with Rebecca, obviously her take for the midwife was excellent because she's such a good actor. You know what I mean? She's someone I'm going to keep coming back to. But when it came to the scene with Johanna, firstly, it being during COVID, we couldn't rehearse that much. And secondly, because it's a birth scene and it's an intimate scene, I needed someone that I could trust and someone that I'd worked with before. I realized that in the prep that it was something that I needed to put a little bit more attention into. I treated it like a sex scene, like any intimacy scene. And got Rebecca, Johanna, and Fiach in my apartment together with the bummy, with the dummy doll and the bump and all this kind of stuff, and got them to just read through the entire script, just the three of them, away from everybody else, so that we had at the very least a run through of just that scene with everyone together. So Johanna felt safe leading up to the shoot as well, and that's the only rehearsal we did for the whole film. But it was about, you know, having found a really lovely cast who I trusted implicitly. It was just about making them feel ready for that. It was one of the first scenes that we shot. It had to be done kind of quickly. We were in a nursing home that we were very lucky to get into called Silverstream in Kildare. And I'm really glad we did. You know, I'm fortunate that even though I only had that little window, that the cast were so amenable and so kind to each other that it just went off without a hitch. In the end, I didn't have anything to worry about. Thank God.
Yeah, they're an absolute brilliant cast. They work so well together. Back in, I think, in 1991 or 1992, I first met Pat Short as an actor. I had been doing a play in Andrews Lane. I was upstairs in the studio in Andrews Lane. I was doing Henry McGee's Hatchet, and downstairs, Pat and John Kenny they were just basically started The Unbelievables, which turned into an incredible success. So when we finished our show at 8 o'clock, or we finished our show at probably 10 o'clock, Pat and John were doing The Unbelievables. They were doing an 8 o'clock show, and straight after that, they were doing a 12 o'clock midnight show. And because we were doing plays upstairs, they used to invite us down to, they weren't filling out the audience because the place was packed as it was, but that was the first time I saw Pat Short on the stage, and I couldn't get over how versatile this actor was. He was just absolutely amazing. His stamina was incredible. I got to chat with him in the bar afterwards for the run of our show, and he's such a nice fella, you know, and he's very different to what you see, you know, when you watch on TV. A lot of people just know him for, you know, Killing the Scully and a lot of the Irish comedies, but he's a fantastic straight player. Katie, how did you manage to get him on board for this one?
Again, so
Katie?
Yeah, sorry, I dropped for just a second, but you're asking how Pat came on board, right? So it was kind of similar. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay,
good stuff. Pat plays John in the films. He's kind of the top generation of the family. I really struggled to fill that role, actually. So initially, I had a different Irish actor attached to that. Before Mo O'Connell came on board, there was different producers on board the film, and we clashed a lot. They were very disrespectful. The actor that we had on board in particular, I was really lucky to get this person, and we were chatting to their agent. Like really high profile actor. One of the producers that was on board the film said, well, you know, this whole Me Too thing, this guy's notorious and no hair and makeup people will work with him, so you're going to have to do it yourself. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not allowing anyone who behaves like that on my set. And there's other things going on with that pair of producers anyway, but it was one of the main reasons that I fired them off the film. It really didn't matter to me if I was going to have to lose, you know, all the crew that was associated with them. It's a Chronicle of Narnia. I'll tell you another time over a pint, you know. Basically, I did have an actor. I lost the actor, and it was coming really down to the wire. And like that particular age group of like male actors in Ireland, the pool actually is not that big, you know. So I had to start thinking outside the box and stop looking just at what people had done previously and just look at, does he look right? Does this guy have a good reputation? Could I trust him? And then it's when I started to think outside the box, I thought, what about Pat though? Like he was in Garage, like The Banshees of Inisherin wasn't out at this stage. He was actually filming it at the time. And I thought, you know what, feck it, I'm going to just reach out and see what happens. And like amazingly, he got back to us, like his agent got back to us, and we had an initial chat a few weeks ahead of the shoot. And I was quite surprised. Like, I mean, as you said yourself, he's such a personality and such a presence on TV and on stage. Like, I really didn't know who I was going to end up speaking to on Zoom. And he just got it. Like, he just got it. And he shared a lot, talking about growing up in the 70s and about being a dad and about being a son. And, I told him what the script meant to me and what I was trying to get out of it. And we had a really lovely, open and frank discussion. And it was after speaking to him just even the first time, I thought, you know what, this is fantastic. I'm really happy, despite the bumps, that I ended up with this person because I trust him. And he's got this versatility, he's a brute. His character is a brute. And in the final scene of the film where he charges into the bedroom, like, you don't know what he's going to do. You expect him to punch David, expect him to throw him around or whatever. And I think that's down to Pat's performance. You know what I mean? He convinces you right up until the last second that that's all he's got in him. Whereas actually, if you look, maybe it takes a second watch of the film, if you just watch what he does when he's actually skinning the lamb, it was there all along. It's a really subtle performance. And I'm actually very grateful to him. Grateful to all the cast. I think that role in particular needed to be handled really delicately. And so anyone who thinks that Pat Short's just a comedy actor is completely wrong, obviously.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Katie. I have the trailer here. So I'm going to just show people the trailer just to give them an idea of what we've been talking about for the past couple of minutes, just to give people a little taste of. This is Lambing, directed by Katie.
Been thinking about my father for a bit today.
The lambs?
No. Me as a lad on the farm.
You are going to be a great dad. Do you know that?
You just can't wait to meet him.
Me too.
It also has female sex organs.
He.
Don't tell anyone. No one needs to know.
What happens in 13 years' time when my child comes to me in bits and pieces, not knowing why, and we realize we've made a mistake?
What a fantastic trailer, Katie. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about there as I was watching the trailer. Your DOP was Richard Kendrick.
Yeah.
He did an incredible job on this one, Katie. His technique was brilliant. His coloring, his lighting is amazing. He did a really, really good job, Katie.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, Richard's amazing. Richard's class. And like, he does such big projects. I mean, he does big TV projects. He's done features. He's Emmy nominated. He's done loads of stuff. I was really lucky to get Richard. And he's just got a calm presence, which I love. I really love that on a set, and it doesn't matter what happens. You don't get flustered. You go, okay, what are we going to do about this? And those are the kinds of people that I gel really well with. And Richard's actually shooting my next film as well, my focus short in January. Need to meet up with him next week. He won a trophy, won an award for lambing a few months back at the Hollywood International Diversity Film Festival. I think he won Best Cinematography. And, the only drawback I think of doing a short like this is, like, I'm so happy with how the film turned out. But when it comes to particular cast and crew, Richard being just one example, you think, feck it, like, I really wish there was more opportunities to just highlight him, or just highlight even like the gaffer, like Owen Hand, you know what I mean? Like, the opportunities to highlight them, I suppose there aren't as many of them there when you're dealing with stuff in the short format. So I've been singing his praises now for a long time. I can't wait to work with him again. He's brilliant.
Yeah, like when you're working on any sort of film, the director's best friend on that set is the DOP. They work very, very closely with each other. And, you know, you need if you've got a special bond or a special relationship, and you know each other's thoughts inside out, then you got something really magic, you know. And I think that's what's happened in your film. The two of you collaborated so well together. There is magic now on the screen as a result of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to prep as well, and like knowing what you want. Like for me, I think I do up so many documents before doing a shoot, like meticulous, like shot lists and storyboards and all the rest of it. And honestly, like having that in your hand or being able to circulate that to the crew when you're on set is like, that's great, but that's not the point of it for me. The point for me is having had so many conversations with Richard. Like anytime that we had to go up and down to Kildare for a recce, I would just drive with Richard and we talked about anything but the film. So we just got a sense of each other. So when it came to actually talking about the shots or about lighting or color or whatever, he knew why I wanted to hit a particular emotion. He knew if I expressed something, you know, if I was very adamant about something, or if I was open to hearing what, you know, what he thought, what he wanted. Like I always said to him, like, I'm happy to be overruled in anything. Like, just tell me why, and we can work it that way. And it was through having those chats with him that I could do all my prep very, very confidently and have a crystal clear picture of what I wanted. With Richard, though, I think the lovely thing about him is that he's done so much documentary work as well. So he actually asked me before the shoot, he's like, look, if I see something that I think maybe you're not seeing, and if I want to just jump in and do you mind, like, can I do that? And I said, absolutely, like, go for it. There's no point in me being a bit of a dictator and saying, no, just do it my way and nothing else. Like, you have to give people room. So like that particular scene where David's at the kitchen table, he's just come back from the hospital after getting the diagnosis, and there's kind of a memory to him talking to the bump the day before with Quiva. Richard got that at the end of a take. The two actors were messing with the bump, and they were, you know, Fiach was whispering to it and whatever, and Quiva was talking back, Johanna was talking back as Quiva. And I was just about to call a cut. He said, do you mind if we keep rolling? I was like, yeah, do your thing. I just stood back and let the two of them play, basically, and Richard was recording it. So, you know, I think it's nice when you have a DP, you can ask ahead of time, do you mind if on the day I do this, rather than someone who tries to cross a boundary that hasn't been discussed. You know, I've had that happen before, and it didn't go quite as well with a different DP. It was great. It's just every so often you just meet someone where you just have this synergy with them and it works really, really well. I didn't even expect to use that little scene that he got until I was in the edit, and I was like, you know, I need something to pace this out. What do I have? And I had a little bucket in the edit called extras. I was like, you know, I'll go in here and dig around and see what's there. And there it was. It's great.
You're also very lucky to have a fantastic composer. Emer Kinsella is one of the best. She did a brilliant job on it. Really nice.
Yeah, she did. I worked with Emer before. She was on In Orbit as well, my first short from 2019. Yeah. I think we were lucky that, again, we had so many chats about it. Like I always put a load of upfront work into music, which I don't think a lot of people do, actually. And I really wish they would, because I watch shorts sometimes and I'm like, it's just, if they could have just started that just a little bit earlier, and, you know, maybe it's missing something here, because you don't want to, like, again, dictate to the audience, you need to feel this in this moment. Like, I do think you need to give the audience room to, you know, engage more heavily where they want, or like what draws them in on a personal level. But I think music is just a great tool to just create some kind of a baseline. Do you know what I mean? But I knew I wanted the choir. I knew I wanted that choral sound, that kind of 1800 sound. So I was on the lookout for a really long time for people who could help, because like the budget just wasn't there to pay an entire choir of singers. Like at one point, Emer had found a choir full of trans singers in LA, but like I couldn't afford them. So, but because we had 2 years to prep the film, there was at one point, there was a sale on this package of this Bulgarian choir that had essentially recorded, I don't know, stems, I don't know what the word is, but there was just a pre-packaged thing ready to go where Emer could literally take it 2 years later and then mix it up however she needed to get the ups and downs that I was looking for, and the mix of male and female voices, which is very much about David's own struggle with his identity as a man, and, you know, feeling vulnerable and angry and frightened. And, you know, it very much tied into the deepest levels of the script in a really purposeful way. So I was lucky I was able to get that out of it.
Yeah, I think it's going to touch a note with a lot of people as well, and not just the subject matter of the film. Certainly, I know people have been in situations where I have been as well, where I've been in hospital, for your first or your second born, and something happens, at the birth. Something's not right. You can tell by the reaction. It happened with my daughter. Now, nothing major, but I could see that there was a concern. Your heart races, certainly as a father, and also, in my own situation where there was something wrong. You don't know. There's so many things going through your mind. You just go blank, and there's a lot of guilt. You're blaming yourself, for it, and that's what happened to me when I watched your film. It's nothing to do with your story. It was just I connected with it. With something that happened to me in the maternity ward. And I think that's going to happen to an awful lot of other people that are going to watch that have had a bit of a scare in the maternity ward.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because Joe, like the little boy who was in the film, my brother, a lot of the inspiration for like how that scene should go came from him, because like there's 24 years between us. We're both twins, actually. I've got a twin sister, he's got a twin brother. It's gas, but the two boys were born, and Joe was very, very sick, and we didn't realize, we didn't know. He had a massive hole across the top of his heart, and he had a series of little ones across both ventricles in the bottom. So like Joe was airlifted to Crumlin from Kerry, and I live in Dublin, obviously. Like, so I spent weeks in the hospital with him, like, holding his hand through the bars, and like, geez, I'm going to cry. But it was just the hopelessness and the fear, and like he was just this tiny, because he's a twin as well. He was just so small, and just not knowing if he was going to pull through, and the guilt of like not being able to do anything for him. I was like, I'll tear my own heart out and give it to him if I can, but I couldn't. Now, thankfully, he pulled through, and he had surgery when he was about 3, and he's great. He'll never be Maradona. Do you know what I mean? He's never going to run quickly or anything like that. But he's a perfectly happy and healthy little boy. But even something as simple as like when he did pull through, and we knew it was just a case of hanging on for a few extra weeks in Crumlin. Like, I held him, and the nurse came in to give him an injection. He started crying, and I started crying. So I said, "Don't hurt my baby." Like I'm not his mom, obviously, but I just think with the age gap, I'm closer to a parent or maybe an aunt than a sibling. Do you know what I mean? I feel very maternal toward him and his brother, and always have had. And it's exactly what you just described. It's just pure and utter panic, fear. It's really complex emotions when a baby comes into your life, and I think it actually triggered people on the crew as well. Now, thankfully, we were able to talk about it. Like Rebecca Hickey's story is incredible. She shared it herself on social media. Do you know what she was going through at the time, and having to do that scene as the midwife? And she didn't tell me what she was going through until maybe a year later. And I had told her, I was editing, we're friends, from working together. And she said, "Okay, now I can tell you." And then she told me what she was going through. And I thought, oh my God, how could you do a scene like that with a slightly similar situation? Again, not intersex, but just a kind of a parent babysit. How could you do that? And I think it's a testament to an unbelievably skilled actor who can just partition and just do the job, do the work, not be triggered. And then, the two of us actually watched the film privately in our house, just to give her a chance to watch it again and go back to the place she was in her head and everything. And I think anything to do with parenthood can be very weighty. And I'm grateful that the film is landing as it is. But again, it's one of those things, like, you leave the cinema and your film is one of maybe 6 or 7 in a block. And often you don't really hear how it hits people. I think the one thing with lambing is it takes, 2 or 3 days for people to absorb it. And so that's kind of a contradiction for a short film, isn't it? Because it's supposed to be an immediate response, but it's not. Even my own family watching it, I thought they hated it. Again, I watched it in the house with them down in Kerry, and they're all very quiet, and the lights went down, and it was a bit awkward. And I thought, feck, they don't like it. I mean, okay, it happens. And I got a phone call like 2 or 3 days later, and my aunt said, "Okay, now I'm ready to talk about it." And that's when it kind of hit me, because as a director, you can't watch it cold. I'm too over involved. I can't experience it like an audience member. But it was only through seeing how she viewed it and experienced it that I got kind of an appreciation for how people were reacting at festivals as well. It's really not something that you can give a quick gut reaction to. And most of the time, I think it takes a little while.
Yeah. And Just at the end of the film there, you mentioned there's no standard of care for intersex children at all in this country.
Mm-hmm.
That's shocking.
I mean, in most countries, I mean, it's only in the last, I think, like 5-6 years that certain countries in Europe have started to ban those kinds of, call them intervention surgeries. It's mutilation. Like let's call a spade a spade. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely appalling, actually. Even people who are adults now, people who are my age, like I'm 32, who are intersex. I mean, it can affect their legal right to marry. It can affect their ability to get health insurance, their ability to just all sorts of basic things that we take for granted. Actually, one of the things that happened when I was trying to get funding, the third time I was pitching for funding was to Kildare County Council. I was doing research on kind of the awareness of intersex issues in Europe, and the intersex mapping study came up. So basically, people have realized this is a huge problem, but because of all the secrecy and all that nonsense and no one needs to know, they don't really know where all the babies are, all the parents are. So there's kind of a European-wide call out for them to see how they are now, how they've ended up, how their mental well-being is, physical well-being. And the whole point is to take those experiences, put it into legislation and rewrite the law. But I think they're on year 2 or 3 now of this 4-year project. So I mean, it's going to be a while before that comes into fruition. The Irish branch of it is actually based in DCU. So at least there's some progress being made. But I think with the best will in the world, and like I hope that project works out very, very well and people get the rights they deserve, they move very, very slowly. Film sometimes doesn't move any quicker, but at least with the short film doing the circuit, like my hope is that you never know, if even 5 intersex people just by pure coincidence happen to see the film and get a little bit of solace out of it, or maybe get confident enough to tell people or to discuss it and go, actually, yeah, that's me. And it trickles out from there. I think that's one of the things I love about making shorts, despite the fact that obviously we all want to move on to features full time, but it does have the ability to put people into a room and to just explain something to them that they would otherwise just never have heard of, never thought about, never considered. When you put something into a narrative context, it's very hard to stay, I think, emotionally detached. And that's one of the things I really wanted, was to let people, interpret the film however they want. But by the end, ask yourself, okay, if I was David, what would I do? Because it's not clear. I mean, does he show up to the hospital or not? It's deliberately very ambiguous, because it's not about what he actually does. It's what would you do is the question. I don't know if you read it like that, but that was definitely...
I did, Katie. That's exactly how I read it. Yeah. Look, it's an incredible piece of filmmaking. It ticks all the boxes really for me. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm just wondering what's next, Katie. Have you any plans for anything else in the future? I'm sure you're working on something at the moment.
Yeah, well, right now I'm trying to stay awake because I'm so jet lagged. I've been up since 4. But I've got 2 shorts in post-production. Cara Holmes is editing Focal Boiler Cree for me. It means Words Home Heart. It's a Screen Kerry and Comórtas Fasheen funded Irish language short. I directed an actor's creator short this year, which is in post also. I've got my focus short, The Quiet Ocean, written by Barry Smith and produced by Fiona Kinsleff, Tara Media, filming that in either January or February, with Richard Kendrick and Owen Hand on board there as well. And I'm writing my first solo feature script, because I already co-wrote Who We Love with Graham Cantwell, which released in cinemas this year. But my first solo feature project is in development at the moment with Wild Atlantic Pictures as well. I'm taking inspiration from an LGBT children's novel called The Deepest Breath by Meg Grehan, but my working title at the moment is Tiny Blankets. So I'm hoping once all my shorts are wrapped, that's thank you and goodbye to the shorts world for a little while anyway, and to move full-time into feature filmmaking. And I did the writer as exec producer course through Screen Ireland this year as well. So that's something I'm really interested in, is to get into a writer's room, either in Ireland or the UK or maybe the States, in the next kind of 1 to 2 years, and experience that and see how that works. And yeah, just move into features and TV full time and give up my day job, which takes up 38 hours of my week, unfortunately. So I always feel like I'm stealing time from myself as opposed to being totally settled on any one project at any one time, which is, I'm grateful to have the gig. It's a producing job. It's, it's not a mile away from what I want to do ultimately, but really I want to be a full-time writer director.
Fantastic, Katie. Well, look, we wish you all the very best. I definitely can't wait to talk to you again. I really enjoyed the chat. even though you've been you've been away and you're still suffering from jet lag. And but no, it's been great chatting to you this morning, Katie. And we can't wait to see you down in Dunleary in November.
Oh yeah, it'll be good crack. Yeah, I really like that hotel as well. I must find a pair of nice pants now because I'm always wearing jeans, so I'm going to have to figure that out. Very stressful day, but yeah, no. In all seriousness, now I can't wait. And like Mo O'Connell's coming as well. I think there'll be a few other people from the lambing team I must check, but we're really looking forward to it anyway. And just thanks for
Joanna's going to be there. She was in touch with me there earlier on in the week. What a fantastic actress. I was actually talking to her there just recently. She did she was involved in the feel good movie 2 years ago. Everything Goes Better in the Sunshine. It was a fantastic short.
Mark Smith's film, that's very funny. Yeah, I love that film. Very good. He's a great director, actually. And Amy Hughes was in that. So I worked with.
That's right. Yeah, she picked up Best Supporting Actress that year for her role in the film.
Yeah, she beat Claire Loy. Claire Loy was up for An Orbit, and Amy got.
That's right.
Yeah, she got your own actor, then you've got a friend as well. So it's funny, but no, it's cool. Geez, Ireland is such a small place, isn't it? Like you can't swing a cat, and there's people you work with or whatever. It's gas.
Well, the indie scene in Ireland at the moment is absolutely booming. I think, we were before we started recording earlier on, we were talking about COVID, and it's probably one of the most unnatural things for Irish people to be locked down. We're very social people, we're social animals, so it's difficult. And throughout COVID, I would put a sort of a positive onto a very negative experience. What I saw during COVID was people have a tendency to race their films, their short films or their feature films. They're trying to get it ready for Galway or Dublin International Film Festival or Cork. And when you race and rush a film, sometimes you can drop the ball, in post production. And what I noticed was, during lockdown was that people didn't need to race to get a film ready for a film festival because there were no film festivals apart from the ones that were online. So people had taken the time to to spend extra time in post, on the edit, on the score. People were able to talk more, getting the film right. Some of the storylines and the scripts that we've seen are fantastic. And an awful lot of that is, especially the work that we've seen over the past down to our situation in COVID, where we were locked down. People had time to think and get things right.
Yeah, I gotta completely agree with you. Like Lambing would have been a very different film if I'd made it back in 2020. Because I mean, like the IMDb Script to Screen Award from 2020, that came with 5k sterling. Like not a chance that I would have been able to make the same film on that budget. But I think there's always the temptation. It's like, look, I have a bit of money, I'll see what I can do. But I think it would have been really unwise. And there was also extra scenes that I cut after having a script consultation with Ailish Kent that I just didn't need, It's just locations that would have been really hard to get, a load of extras and stuff like that. And the film became much more contained because of COVID, but I think the film needed that as well. Like it feels quite intimate, I think, there's so few people there. It's just the implication of the outside world as opposed to actually seeing it. And what I kind of learned through that process of like macheteing my way through the scripts to try and make it that bit more doable is that I didn't need it. I think sometimes we think we need more than we actually do for a short. It's like, no, like what is the film actually about? It's the relationship with the father, the sister, between the parents. That's it. It didn't need any more than that. I think, I don't know, I'd love to adapt it to a feature film where there is all that stuff, but again, with a feature budget and the time to do it,
Yeah. Fantastic, Kate. Well, look, we really enjoyed chatting to you this morning. We'll have this interview online a little bit later on today, and we look forward to seeing you in Dunleary in November.
That's right. Thanks a million.